My name's Anne Ball. I'm one of the course team at Sheffield. I'm currently the course leader, soon to pass over to a very safe pair of hands in Andy and my colleague Sharon. And we're probably going to show you something that's a bit different to what we've been doing the last few days. We're actually going to show you how we've been using PebblePad in a very different way. So I'm sure all of you can remember I've been at the university for 7 years. There was a time where we didn't have very many students. The paramedic team were reasonably sized for the amount of students that we got. At that point, handwritten assignments were still coming in. We marked them on paper. There was very little technology. There was this drive to go forward with this technology enhanced learning, but not very much impetus in doing so. And we stood there, told the student what they needed to know. They sort of absorbed it and really gave them lots and lots of practical time. So we were very vocationally driven with this bent to going towards the educational role of trying to teach them some things for the future. And it's not that long ago, that's about 7 years ago. So throughout, you would hope that we would assess our students to ensure that they were competent in the skills that you would expect them to do when they came out to you when you needed them in their hour of need. And the only way that we did it really was quite labour intensive, that we had lots of tutors sat in front of them while they demonstrated their practice, whether that was just a skill or the whole paramedical skills and profile that they would use at any time. And it was a safe simulated environment. We couldn't go and knock down little old Doris to ensure that we got somebody with a broken hip so they can manage it. We used equipment, we used fake blood, all sorts of things. And these things have been around for a little while. In 1975, Harden and Gleason used them in the medical field. And it was more of a long case OSCE approach where they went in, saw a patient, then went perhaps wrote their assessments of that patient, then went and did something more because the patient's scenario changed. And we used something slightly different. It's more of an emergency case OSCE, where they'll get given that little old lady that's fallen with a mannequin and they'll have to deal with it and then take them off to hospital. But now it's globally and multi-professionally used for the students to be able to demonstrate their skills and knowledge so that they can achieve those clinical outcomes or competencies at the end of the course. Really, our didactic education, we'd teach them the skill, we'd demonstrate it in front of them, we'd then perhaps have lots of tutors around, we'd have them in separate rooms, we'd have the skills going, and it took a lot of staff time to be able to assess all of those students or demonstrate to those students at any one time. It was tutor-centred, tutor-driven, and the student would have to come to you and ask questions if they needed to. Our students are very different. We get employed students that come for they're an ECA, an emergency care assistant that might want to upskill to be a paramedic, but we have off the street people that have not necessarily done anything paramedicine before, but they still expect to be taught everything. Our students don't reflect very well. There was limited self-reflection on what they were actually doing, and sometimes they'd want to get home earlier rather than standing there practicing those skills over and over again. Oops. There was limited peer reflection. We didn't get the students thinking and talking to each other and saying, well, what do you think, whether I've done something well or not? And really, we didn't really foster that lifelong learning ethic. We didn't get them to think about that peer assessment as being that first step and being a mentor in the future. So the solution, well, every now and again in a meeting, you'll hear Andy's Tourette's come out and he'll go, PebblePad. PebblePad will do that. And you just turn around and you'll go, yeah, we can do that and that'll happen and we'll do it on PebblePad and it'll work really, really well. We thought, how are we going to access these different skills that we might create these little bit of videos of? And QR codes came out, another bit of Tourette's, I suppose. Now we can use those. What are they? So they're a bit like a barcode. And so now we've got our QR codes on virtually everything in our skills room. So whether it's the mannequin, go and get the QR code. It will tell them what sort of skill that they can use that mannequin for. And they're appearing everywhere, aren't we? Again, we've got this issue of bring your own device or for us to supply them. We did go down a route of getting our students to use their own devices, which Andy will explain did have a few problems later. And I think the session that we've just had from Liverpool, where they insist early on, if you're getting a place at Liverpool, you're going to have to make sure that you have a device. I think that's something you're going to have to do. And it gets them to use and continue to use PebblePad. We have those students who hate PebblePad. We just want Blackboard. We just want to do it through that medium. Well, no, we're going to start using PebblePad more and more, and this is the first step. And hopefully, by them being able to have this offline acquisition, be able to demonstrate those skills, that offline, they can do it anywhere, anytime. So we're a bit of a martini profession, really. The main reason why we were forced to do what we are doing, and we were forced at the time, we didn't want to move from what we were doing at that moment in time, was because of staff cost. We were being told to work smarter, harder, get more out of what we were doing, but reduce marking time. Our student body has gone from something like 30 when I started nearly 7 years ago, to over 250 students at any one time, and that's going to increase because we're going to go towards BSc. We needed to efficiently save money so we could push that effort of tutors into a different module. That module where we wanted to do those final things and assess those final things. I'm going on. Final things of that student just before they went out into practice. And as an added benefit, these guys started making tools that we could use then repeatedly over and over again, and then save time on those students when they needed it, so they could go and have that face-to-face time when the student actually wanted that. So what we're going to do is show you it in action.
Okay, so I'm going to take on the role of a student now to do the demonstration. So as Anne said, in creating the videos, we advise all our students to either borrow a device that we provide or bring their own. So they all have QR scanners on. So the skill that I'm going to be demonstrating today for my assessment is going to be recording vital signs. So if I want to just check what I'm doing before I start, I have the video here. I'm hoping it's not one I recorded. Oh, and the patience. So I can stand or sit, watch the video, I can take it home with me. The QR codes are absolutely everywhere within the teaching spaces that we use.
You've got some on
and they're portable. Feel free to zap any of them after the session. I've just scattered some around. So I'm now confident that I know what I'm doing. I've used this for the past 8 weeks to review my practice, check that what the tutor taught I've understood, and I have submitted a workspace within
Colin, may we borrow you for a second?
Pebble. We ask our students to submit 3 videos. So the first video they'll submit is quite early on. It's self-assessed, so they'll actually record it, and I'll show you how in a moment. Submit it. The second one is then peer assessed. We actually ask our students to swap round. We don't like them, I'll assess you, you assess me, I'll say yours is all right, you'll say mine's all right, we're all right. And then the third video within the workspace is what is submitted for us to review. And rather than watching a live OSCE, giving feedback on that day, we have 3 weeks to mark that. That's improved our internal moderation. It can be sent to our external as well. So, to record our videos then, and it's just logged me out, so just, stop. We use Pebble Pocket because, as we point out to our students, it doesn't actually take any space up on their phones for the videos. So, we're going to add a video, record a video. Okay.
We don't know what we're going to do yet, do you?
Very frightened.
Just looking for needles at the moment.
When we first piloted this, we ran into a few issues. I think we presumed that our students would treat this as an exam and act professional. Needless to say, we had a few videos filmed, one in a patient's bedroom, in her pink fluffy pyjamas. We had some quite unprofessional behaviours demonstrated on those videos. So we have put some guidance together, and this is at the start of the work for them to see.
So are you ready to go, Sharon?
So first thing, I would be in uniform in a clinical area, and I'm going to make sure that I am in full shot of the video, so somebody else cannot be doing my video just on my arms.
Okay, I can see you ready to go?
Yeah.
You're recording.
So I'm Sharyn Edwards, I'm a paramedic student, and I'm about to undertake my vital signs OSCE. I'm going to introduce myself to the patient. Hello, Colin. I'm Sharon, I'm a student paramedic. Is it okay to take some observations from you?
Certainly.
Okay, so first I'm going to start by counting your respiratory rate, and I'm going to just take your arm and place it across your chest. And I'm going to count your respiratory rate, and I'm going to count it for 30 seconds in a time critical situation, or over 60 seconds in a non-time critical situation.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so, and so on and so on. You can stop recording now.
So then I can stop.
Okay.
Want to do the rest?
Okay, so I'm going to save the video. I'm going to title it.
One of the issues we had when we were doing lots of videos when we were videoing the OSCEs, we needed to know who the student was and what OSCE it was, so we had to get the tutors involved in remembering the student which OSCE it is, otherwise there'll be lots named down wall and they wouldn't really know what they were.
Okay, so on Pebble, I've titled it, and I'm going to send it to my asset store. I'm posting the line really quick.
In which case, I'll just do some interpretive dance while this sends.
They are usually quite.
One thing we found with using Pebble Pocket was that it compressed the video, so we got less of a problem with file size. What we weren't specific, we gave them guidance on that during their initial sessions, but we gave them the option to use their own devices, and we found that created lots of problems with huge videos that they struggled to compress. We had people complaining that they had to delete their family photos to be able to record the videos. And well, so we didn't have to, we provided the devices for you. So there were devices everywhere for them to use, sorry.
Okay, stop waffling now, I've sent it. This is my asset store.
I know, that's my asset store.
Oh, flip my screen.
Yeah, that shows.
Yeah, it's not on there.
Why is it not showing that?
We found most of our students
You waffle now.
were really not spending very much time doing practice, and they probably did it very last minute in the run-up to doing
Is it showing that and not that?
OSCEs that took lots of tutor time, that perhaps we had to book out rooms for days on end so that we could run the office for that amount of students. And we've got a high failure rate with those students. You could probably pick out the ones that were going to do that, whereas others would be booking time, practicing as a group. And we found,
resources.
as an added benefit, because
Find your book first. You need to resources first to find your book. Yeah, but you need to add it, and it's your book now, don't you? So you need to go into resources to open your workbook to add it.
So we've had to go back to the students and say to them, look, it's not a bad thing, but you did something wrong on that video that you did. What's beneficial about it is you recognise that what you did about it or something that was missing, so you can reflect on that and use that as part of the portfolio as well. You ready?
Okay, so in my asset store, at the start of my module, I've submitted the workbook, which holds my videos. And it was basic patient assessment that I was doing. So, as you can see, I've already submitted, and please don't. I've already submitted my self-reviewed attempt, and I've confirmed with the drop-down boxes that I think this fully meets the standard, so I'm doing a bit of self-assessment. And then peer assessment is my second video. My really unimpressed 16-year-old daughter sat in the background going, Mum, can I go out now? And my peer assessor has commented from the drop-down boxes that they think it fully meets the standard and agrees, and signed and locked. Again, it lets us know if that's been altered. So this third and final video that I'm about to submit is the one that I want Andy to assess me on. Go into my asset store and attach, and it's there. Colin being the star of the show.
So just need to save it.
And I just need to save this, and then Andy is going to show you the assessor view.
Can I just check, is Colin all right?
So from my perspective, I would log on to the Atlas workspace for the students. Once we've passed the submission date, I can then open up the template. Start off with basic patient assessment. I don't need to look at the self-assessment and peer assessment because I'm only confirming that I'm going to watch the final assessment. One of the things we struggled with was getting them to understand that the first one and the second one don't have to be right. You can show progression. You can have mistakes in your self-assessed video, but they seem to want to keep trying and trying and trying until they were all perfect. Once I've watched the video, I can select my opinion that yes, this video fully meets the standard. I can give some feedback. You was good. And then obviously save. And we also added, because we do sometimes get referrals, we have IMR attempts, so there is space for the student on the same workbook submit an IMR attempt or a reset attempt. And then we go through the whole book, and then there's a scorecard to mark it at the end. It's proved successful. One of the things that you'll see on there is the fact that we used the media picker. Now that wasn't there before V5, so we had a element holder, an evidence holder, and we found that there are lots of videos and then it wasn't clear to understand which was their first attempt, their peer, because they weren't labelling them properly. Or what we found they also did was they would just have the video running and do it 3 times, which wasn't the idea. So we tested it with a small group of 20 students, and I deliberately used our Year 2 students that had done the OSCEs the traditional way in Year 1, and then we tried this with them in Year 2 to try and get some feedback on the difference. There was only 20 in that cohort, so it's not a massive sample size. We're just about to repeat it with a cohort of 70 that are doing the same things. And some of the things that we came out of it, we found that as a result of it, it wasn't an intended outcome, was the fact that they increased the amount of time they spent practicing the skill. Over 43% said it substantially increased the time that they were practicing. We also found that the videos that we placed around the room impacted on the amount of tutor support required. So OSCE practice days, 3 of them, 2 of them?
We used to have 4.
4 of them, and we used to have 7 tutors in different rooms supporting their practice. We now have 1 or 2 tutors that sit in the hallway and read the paper most of the time, because if they've got a question, they just go back and watch the video. One of the things that the video did as well is it increased some standardization in what they were being told. We did find, because we brought a lot of what we call associate lecturers in from practice, and there is always variations in practice. The way I do something is not necessarily the same way as Sharon, and they were getting told different things. And as I think one of the slides we looked at on the keynote the other day was the fact that they start off on that program wanting everything to be black and white. They don't understand the multiplicity of healthcare, and that actually there are different ways of doing it, and that's fine. They just want a black and white answer. Some of them found it difficult in producing the videos, and again, when we looked at the split of those that found it really easy and those that found it a bit of a problem, it was those that were using their own equipment and not following the guidelines that we gave them that had the biggest problems. The students always do as you tell them, don't they? And same with the uploading of the videos to PebblePad. It was those that had created massive files using high definition video recorders to produce, gigabytes of data, and then wondered why it wouldn't upload. Generally, everybody found it a relatively easy process. There's some good qualitative feedback, some good comments that came out of it. 100% of them preferred it to the original program, the way we did it, and they nearly all found it was all but one who didn't quite know said it was a good way of assessing their skill, knowledge and understanding. So that's about it. Thank you very much.